Okay, should be live now.
Good evening. I'm Jerry McIntosh, and this is Our Voices, the People's Media. Tonight, we're going to address the stepping down of Joe Biden and to his endorsement of Kamala Harris. And we want to definitely hear from you and everybody that has something to say with what is taking place here. There's a great day for democracy. It's a great day for Kamala Harris and his country. But we'll go to our host, Mr. Derek Scott, who is with the Escambia Democrat Party uh, here in Escambia County. Uh, Jill Daggs, who is with the Democrat Black Caucus and treasurer. Bill Snow, who is the author of the great book From the Project to the Boardroom. We have Mr. Vernon Watson, who is you'll be watching this show on WBQP TV, Roku, Fire Stick, and YouTube, and other platforms that are out there. And of course, on my Facebook page. And also, you can go to www.themackintoshprinciple.com and click on Facebook, and you can watch the show. And we want you to like and share the show as well. But we'll get started. I'm gonna go to Jill. Good evening, Jill. How you doing?
Good evening, everyone. Jerry, thank you so much. To Vernon, it's always great to be on the show. Oh, Vernon's happy too. And Bill, I wonder what you're gonna predict now. Like, I'm really ready for the conversation. I think first we should have a conversation about Joe Biden, President Joe Biden, and the sacrifice that he just made, that he put democracy and this nation ahead of where he was at, that the decision that he had to make, knowing all of the hard work that he has put in, knowing that he has done so much for us, that he said, despite all of that, I'm going to do what's right for our country. And I think before we even get into the amazingness of his endorsement of Vice President Kamala Harris, that we just have to give reverence to all of the hard work and all of where we are now, and how much of that is because of him for years and years, not just the past 4 years or his 8 years with Obama, but for years he's been in this fight, and for years he's given everything. For years he's sacrificed, he's lost, and he's still giving back to us. So if you don't mind, Jerry, I would just open the floor to let's talk about him first, and then we can roll into the phenomenalness of Kamala Harris.
Yeah, I agree. Because for how long has he been in politics? Almost 50 years, about 50 years. And he have lost family members. And then a few years ago, he lost his son, Bo. He has been through a lot. He got elected when he was in his 30s. Well, he was almost too young to take the Senate seat when he was elected. He was barely 30 years old. And he's about 80, 81 now. So that lets you know that's about 50 years that he's been in services to this country. And and he had some issues, but he always tried to atone for the things he said and done by precept and example, because he has put more African American judges than all of the presidents combined. You know, he also put a black woman on the Supreme Court, and his cabinet reflects America. And I'm wondering, is it because that you know, he have put so many people in at the seat of power in this country, especially African Americans in his cabinets and all of that, that some of the people are you know, up in arms about it. Could that be an issue? What do you think, Bill?
Well, I tell you, man, y'all, this one here really is a blow below the belt. Because I know that in my heart of hearts that Joe Biden is a decent human being. Man, someone that can walk with kings and still relate to the common man. We don't have a whole bunch of that in politics. But like you said, Brother Jerry, he's made some mistakes, but when you have a chance to atone and do what's right and stand up for what's right, him not running for president, it almost, to me, it's like a death. I mean, something inside of me feels terrible. And I want to stay positive with Joe, but Democrats on the Hill has really disappointed me, terribly disappointed me. But this is the end of an era. They're even calling for him, they're saying that if he can't rerun, he should resign immediately. Man, the Republicans are so, they are so disconnected and so mean and spiteful and vengeful that that we Dems have to rally and win this thing, because the direction that they want to take it, it's just crazy. But when I got the word right around 12:30 today, I was only really, really high. I was feeling good, had wonderful services, and to be blindsided actually with the news that he was actually relinquishing the run. It did something to me. I mean, for the opposite side to be able to rally around, I think our problem with this whole situation is the people that are around our guy. The people that are around our guy, I think, failed him and us. They drove him too hard, like I already said, for the debate, which he shouldn't have been even debating in the first place, but they drove him too hard, man. He said that he had flown through 13 time zones, and I know why they're up there in Air Force One. It's like sitting in your office and they're drilling him on the numbers when he knew the numbers. The other guy didn't even debate the numbers because he doesn't know the numbers, but they drove him too hard. The other guy has people around him that can make poop shine, and that is what they're attempting to do, and that is hard. But if we had, I think his people let us and him down by not protecting him and giving him good sound advice. But were I him, they could have come to me. I would not have given it up. I just would not have. I think Joe could win. I think if he had stayed the course, he could have won. Because I think, like the other side said, and like Joe himself even said, we're not going to let anything determine the outcome of the election but the people on November 5th. And I don't think that we gave him that fair shake in letting the people decide, because I do believe that the people would have reelected Joseph Robinette Biden.
And you know, going back to what you said, that they was calling for him to resign. Who do they think was going to be the president if he resigned now?
Right, yeah. Good point.
Yeah, who was going to be the president except Kamala Harris?
The thing that they're so afraid of, that, yes.
Yeah. So, but the sad part about it, like you said, the Democrats didn't circle the wagon around Joe Biden because he had a bad night. And, you know, and it could have been they could have known something that we didn't know.
While,
You know?
while you're right there, Brother Jerry, that might be a good strategic move for him to go ahead and hand it over to her now.
Right. Yeah.
In her run as an incumbent. Might be a pretty decent strategic move.
Yeah. So it's something going on. When I got the hint was when Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah,
said,
you're right.
Nancy Pelosi is a tactician. She's a strategist, way back strategist.
And when Hakeem Jeffries started, when I started hearing that he was calling, that's when I started thinking, OMG.
Yeah. I kind of figured something was going on then. And it's things going on that in that circle that we don't know anything about. But I'm still happy for his move, that strategic move that he made to make sure Kamala Harris become the standard bearer for this. And people are already circling the wagon around her, which is a good thing. So I'm happy about that. Christine, how you doing?
I am. It's been a crazy day. It's been a really crazy day, crazy week. It's been a lot of ups and downs. I know I am very, very grateful to Joe Biden and all he's done for our nation. He saved democracy. Like y'all were saying, I don't know everything that's behind this, but I am definitely behind his endorsement. So I'm definitely here for Kamala Harris. And this is just not the way I envisioned it. It's different, and it's a lot to take in really, really quickly.
Well, I see you got a T-shirt on. That's already printed already.
Yeah, Kamala Harris for the people. So I have always been for Kamala Harris. That's not new. Even when she ran the last time, and then I was on board with tons of others. When we saw that she had suspended her campaign, trying to get all of her supporters on with Joe Biden. So there was a big online push, and I'm proud to have been part of that. I'm proud to support her then, support her now, and also give thanks to Joe Biden for all he's done and didn't have to do. So he is truly, truly a remarkable individual.
So, I know Derek said he has some of the talking points that some of the things that Joe Biden has done, and I know we're going to go over some of that. As Jill said, we're going to deal with Joe Biden. I know some of the things he have done was just lately. Some of the student loan forgiveness was a major step forward for people to not be in debt, saddled with so much debt once they're out of college. College everywhere else is free except here in America, except in private institution overseas in the Western world. So,
Jerry, I have the list or a list to start. And then maybe when Derek gets on, he can do the second page because there's 2 whole pages of information on all the things he did. So we'll start with he brought down inflation while wages and incomes are on the rise. He lowered health insurance premiums with health insurance rates for Black Americans at 90%. He capped the cost of insulin at $35 for seniors. He's fighting for homelessness and lowering housing costs, cracking down on price gouging by corporations and hidden junk fees, cut Black child poverty in half, extended free health coverage to Black women who have been given birth from 2 to 12 months, and fighting to lower the cost of childcare, elder care, and preschool. And then I would say, I'm gonna let Derek do the second half, but if you look at all of those things that I just stated, and all of that, not only did Biden do it, but VP Kamala Harris was right there with him. So what he stands for, she stands for. The fight was done together. He gets the credit as president. She'll take over and continue the credit, but that was teamwork. Most of our Democratic presidents get along well. Look at how Obama and Biden got along and the things that they were able to accomplish. This is just going to be a continuation. This is not going to be, oh, does she stand for this? Or, oh, does she stand for this? She stands for exactly all of the things that they have accomplished over the last 3.5 years. That's what's going to happen. And I think for me, I think I just watched Chair Freed had a call, and she had some powerful people on there, and some of them were in tears, like they were broken because of the love for him, the fight for him, that they have been voting for him since for those that were old enough, way back when, and then those that were in the younger generation were like, you've always Biden all the time, Biden. But I really think about the sacrifice for him to run in the first place. Like, he didn't have to, and we needed him. And he said, okay. He could have said, no, my family, just too much. And he didn't. He chose us yet again. He chose democracy yet again. So I think for anybody other than the Republicans, which I don't have an answer for, to think that he should stop at this moment, no, he's our president. He's the one that's going to keep it going. He's the one that's going to make sure that you still get all the fabulous things that he's done and nobody else lets that fall to the side. And he's going to help propel Vice President Kamala Harris. And that money just transfers over. They just went over everything. And just as I was thinking, I know that had to be a very difficult decision because he's a fighter. He continues to fight and he's not giving up. So maybe the better way to look at this is he didn't give up. He just chose us. And how many times, who do we have that chooses us? Us, everybody. Black, white, purple, pink, Asian, gay, straight, whatever. He chose democracy. That's all of us. And he didn't have to. He could have said, no, Bill, I'm not going to tell you he couldn't win. But what I do know is that we couldn't keep the narrative going.
Right.
We couldn't have donors say they're not going to this or not going to that. We couldn't have people trying to speculate and try to figure out what to do, although we have to figure out what to do now. But all of that was just, we've been in the news for a month. They never give us this much coverage, ever.
Right.
So now we're going to get, so in some ways, this is going to help us because that's going to be the conversation. And right after that, it's going to be Kamala and what she's going to do, or Vice President Kamala, what she's going to do. So we're back in the news. So we have to take this momentum, execute it, utilize it, and not give up. But I will tell you, the road ahead is difficult. And if we told you before you needed to register to vote, you absolutely need to not just register, but you need to make an active plan of how you're going to come and bring all of your friends. Derek, I think, has a 10. I think the FDP has 7. Some people have 5. I want you to bring 100 because that's what it's going to take. I need you to go find as many people as possible to make sure that they understand. Now, you complain because Biden's too old. Guess what? Kamala's not too old. That was pretty much the excuse. The complaint. It wasn't that he wasn't doing this, it wasn't doing this, he's just too old. So young people, and I'm talking to my kids and everybody else, young people, Grandpa Joe has put it on your shoulders. And what he said is, okay, I'm in this with you. I'm hearing you. I'm listening. Democracy's on the line. So I'm going to step aside so that Kamala can take over. And I expect, need, want, beg, implore, you must register and go vote.
You talk about the homeless, and the Supreme Court hand down a decision a couple weeks ago that homeless people could be put in jail for being homeless. So, and he was fighting for the homeless to have shelter, to have a place to go. So, yeah. And then birth, you talked about, birth. Well, Black women have been suffering and dying from childbirth for years now. And it's a lot of things that has been done to help alleviate some of that struggles they go through to bring children into the world. So yeah, Bill, you was about to say something.
Yeah, I think I'm becoming optimistic. I believe that I mean he's been in the news cycle since the debate. I mean, so I think this has actually galvanized the base. Like you said, so some $24 million in 5 hours has been collected, but I really do, because those young folk, we all know that we had an issue there. My granddaughter that I was telling y'all I've been back and forth with sent me the news break when it broke. Maybe those young folk now will rally around Kamala, and we can pull this thing off. So we've got a formidable opponent in Kamala. She is worthy of the office. She has the credentials. She's served in that VP role and has done a magnificent job out on the trail with that overturn of Roe v. Wade and women's rights. She looks the part. She's very smart. I believe it has galvanized our base. I really do.
Vern, what's your thinking, Vern? Is you?
Vernon got a smile on his face, boy.
We can hear you.
Go ahead. Go ahead. And we're gonna address some of the things that Trump wanted to get rid of or to consolidate under his power. We want to talk about. He was saying he want to purge 50 to 100,000 people from the federal government that are civil service people, civil service workers rather, and we all know that federal government employ more black people than any other companies or any other major company in the world. It's done by federal government, state governments, city governments. That's where we are mostly employed at. And if you go to purging, you know who's going to be purged. They are, and he said they're going to demand loyalty from everybody else for that. He's talking about disrupting the Homeland Security.
Your voice went, your mic went, Jerry. Your mic went.
It's gone?
Yeah, well, you're back. You're back. When you lean forward, it may be pulling something.
Okay. Yeah, he's talking about doing away with Homeland Security, disrupting the intelligence community, media agency. He wants to take over.
There you go.
Agency for international development. He wants to get rid of that. He wants to disrupt the Department of Agriculture. He wants to make that smaller than some of the other things. His Department of Energy. He want to get rid of that. Environmental protection agencies, and he definitely want to get rid of that for the big corporations so they can pollute anywhere they want to. He wants to cut back on Department of Housing and Urban Development, Department of the Interior, Department of Labor and Labor Relations agencies, Department of Transportation. I mean, when you go through all of the things that he want to cut back on, Veterans Affairs, Department of Commerce, Department of the Treasury, they want to really totally disrupt the whole of government. The Federal Reserve, you want to get rid of that. Small Business Administration, Security and Exchange Commission. When you go through the stuff that this dude is talking about getting rid of, when you cut back all of these agencies, think about who work in a lot of these agencies, you know, and that's what people are not realizing, that it's a whole lot of Black people working all these agencies, and some of them are heading up these agencies. And you know, and I know under the White House, you become a part of the cabinet, but the agencies are always there. Even when the cabinet member, you can move the cabinets out, the cabinet heads out for the next president, whoever he want to put in. But all of the rest of them underneath there stays there because they're civil service or they are unionized. So it would definitely do damage to us. Go ahead, Christine.
No, I would just add thank you for pointing all that out. I would just add to that really sounds like Project 2025 if we look deeper into it.
It is fun.
I mean, that is exactly what they want to do. I used to live in Prince George's County, Maryland, right over the edge of DC. That for a long time till just recently, the last 5-6 years or so, was where you had the highest amount of where black folks earn the most money across the nation, hands down. And a lot of that is due to what you just said. You know, one, there's a lot of HBCUs around there. So you've got Howard, you've got Bowie State, you've got University of Maryland Eastern Shore. So you have a lot of HBCUs, but also the ability to work for the federal government and have decent wage. And that's what a lot of folks just don't understand. And it's not just there, that goes everywhere, just like our military does. You can be a civilian and be, sent one place and then another place. But that is one of the most stable jobs you can have. And to hear somebody who says that they're going to do all this for jobs, and in the first statements that they're talking about is cutting thousands and thousands and thousands of jobs that are primarily, oftentimes, worked by Black and brown folks with decent salary, decent wages. Go ahead, Jill.
I'm just going to be funny. That's because he's opened up all our new Black and brown jobs. So we have to get out of the Black and brown jobs we have so that we can do the new Black and brown jobs after he sends all of the immigrants back home. He's going to move us out of our jobs. We'll need jobs. And he thinks then we'll say, thank you, because you've alleviated us from our real jobs and given us new Black and brown jobs.
Yeah. In the peach orchards and, and the potato fields and picking peas, beans, and
restaurants and housing and doing roofs and construction and
those
working at hotels.
And mind you, not owning any of those things, only working in them, not being able to unionize, not being able to own your own business, not being able to do any of those things.
And he said he was gonna. They are in their project. They're gonna close the schools in DC. I mean, what is that saying? If you close the schools in DC, that means the children got to go to school somewhere. That means people gonna get up and leave, and that's a purge without saying we want to purge all these Black folks out of DC. Because if they can't go to school, they're gonna go where the schools are at. And they know that means people gonna get up and leave. Go ahead, Christine.
The other thing that does is it talks about the voting rights of DC and the voting rights of all our territories and how much the federal government has over, the folks in DC can vote for X, Y, and Z, but it can be overturned by the federal government because they don't have equal status and standing. They don't have voting representation. There's so much, there's so many layers to that. I'm so grateful you brought that up, because that's the same thing that happens in Puerto Rico. That's the same thing that happens in the US Virgin Islands. That's the same thing that happens in Guam. And then right there, you know, on the mainland of US, we get to watch it every single time. Every single time. How those who don't live there, who don't have any constituency there, can overwrite everything that the folks vote for right there. And that's our so-called nation's capital.
Exactly. Because they don't have statehood. And they've been fighting for statehood for years there. And because if they got a, and they know that the power of that, if it's statehood, if they got statehood there, you're talking about a governor.
Well, that's the whole reason they won't do it, though, Jerry, because they know what color they're going to be.
Yeah, you know, then you would have state senate, state house. You would have, you know, still have your mayorship, but you would have representation. I mean, you would have Congress people coming from there. 2 senators would come from there. DC is bigger than Wyoming, you know, got more people than Wyoming and all these other out western countries combined.
Yeah.
So, I mean, not country, but western states.
Yeah.
So
taxation without representation, you're absolutely right. There's been an ongoing deal there in DC, but they know, I don't care how you draw the gerrymandering line, what they're gonna get. So that's exactly why they don't want it. Will not. But that's terrible, though.
It is. It is. The
That's
people
terrible.
that Congress can overturn what their budget. They can overturn everything that they do. You know, you can set a budget and Congress don't like, oh, we're gonna overturn your budget. You know, if we don't like this, we're gonna cut your funds off. You know, your funds have to go through us. And that's, you know, like you said, taxation without representation.
Absolutely.
You know, only, you know, you only have somebody as a figurehead that represents you, but has no power in making decisions about the lives of the people that live there in DC.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me, Derek?
Oh, yes. Hello. Good evening, everybody. Sorry, I apologize for my tardiness. We had an event today, and just have to, I don't want to come on looking like I've been outdoors all day.
Wonderful event too, man.
Thank
you. Boy, I'm smelling them turkey legs now, boy. I'm gonna get down when I get off.
Yeah.
Jill did the first page of some of the issues, some of the things that Biden has produced. So we were waiting on you to do the second page of Biden's accomplishments.
The one file. Yeah, okay, give me a second. Yeah, I can do that.
I didn't want to take everything away from you, Derek. I wanted to say
thank you for thinking of me. I appreciate it. You are super thoughtful. And just because you thought of me, I also thought of you. I saved you a couple of turkey legs.
They feel good.
Thank
and
you.
while you're doing that, Derek, I was listening to Alexandra Ocasio. She was saying, you know, that people was talking about moving Biden, but they was talking about some was talking about moving his whole administration, including Kamala Harris. So she was saying, in effect, they're trying to remove the entire cabinet of Joe Biden and the VP as well. So that was, you know, and she was talking about some Democrats who didn't want Kamala Harris to become the standard bearer for the 24 for this year for the presidency. So, but it looked like they lucked out. And in the first place, they should sit down and shut up, you know, because they weren't elected as president. They should have left things. They could have squashed this thing overnight, but they wanted to, you know, keep this going and keep it going. And there were those who have ambition to be president, but the thing about it, failing to realize if we lose this election, we lose democracy, and they wouldn't have had a chance to win no way. Either way, we would have been the loser. Everybody in America would have been the loser because of them and because of their shenanigans that they were doing. And knowing this man is an existential threat to the well-being of this country and definitely to us. And then when you read that part about deporting, they saying they were setting it up so they could deport people anywhere in the country where if they thought, they wouldn't have known whether you was a citizen or not if you didn't have your papers on, so they could have deported you.
Mm.
So those are some of the things that's in that Project 2025. People need to read and look at. There's some dangerous stuff in there. Go ahead, Derek.
So, well, first thing, again, I apologize for being late, but, I'm sure it's already been echoed, but I think it goes without saying that everybody should be grateful for President Joe Biden and his service to this country, the work that he's put in to make America where it is right now. And we are better off, as a nation with having him as our president. He's done a lot. We talked about some of the things that we've done. Arguably, he's been one of the best presidents in American history.
Absolutely.
And his legacy will never be forgotten. When we look at some of the things that we've talked about, he's turned our economy around. He guided us out of the COVID-19 pandemic and rebuilt our crumbling infrastructure and restored America's place on the world stage. That's just, for starters. And that's something that all Americans can be grateful for and proud of. When we talk about what he's done in terms of building, like for our communities in Black and Brown, he's created 2.6 million jobs for Black workers, and he's closed the wealth gap by 60%, which has been historically the most in a 20-year period. So he's seen us cancel student debt for nearly 4 million borrowers, and provided over $7 billion to HBCUs. And I want to talk about that student debt because for a lot of people, when you think about it, student debt is just okay. I now no longer have to pay student loans. What this arguably does for a lot of people, particularly in who are students who are struggling, that puts them into another wealth class. You are able to afford more of a home than what you may have been able to afford. You are allowed creating generational wealth by being able to purchase properties that you haven't historically been able to qualify because of the student loan debt that has been holding people down. So that is something that we can arguably say has been absolutely phenomenal and noteworthy for his administration. When we talk about HBCUs, I'm certainly a proud graduate of the University of Florida. But when we look at our folks who attend our institutions like Florida A&M, Bethune-Cookman, Florida Memorial, Edward Waters, those institutions have thrived and been the better as a result of the presidency of Joe Biden. And it is absolutely one that can be commended. And the more of our entrepreneurs are starting businesses at a faster rate. We've never seen them start at a rate this fast in over 30 years from this standpoint. And when we look at it, it's just an absolute, we can go line by line by line. And when we talk about our safety, he's had the largest annual drop in our murder rate with more than 2,000 deaths averted. And that was just last year in 2023. We passed the most significant gun safety legislation in decades and established the first ever White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention. And that was due to his efforts and our esteemed congressman from Congressional District 7, I believe it is, Maxwell Frost, and founded community violence intervention initiatives. And he signed an executive order to advance accountable policing, especially this was in the wake when Congress failed to pass the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. These are just some of the things that, from my perspective, he's done I think we can all say, when we talk about, oftentimes I hear the rhetoric or Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris hadn't done anything for Black Americans. And I always look at them like, okay, I don't know what rock you've been under, but let's get out of listening to the misinformation and disinformation that will have you believing that this has been the most inept administration in history, when in fact it has been the most productive. We've seen judges, Black and brown appointees to the judicial bench, which affects our community at a historic rate. We've never seen such representation on the bench as we have had under President Joseph Biden. So, when I look at it, these last 4 years, I'm thankful. I'm saddened that he won't be continuing, but I applaud his ability to put the country over his own personal interest and over ego, and making sure that all Americans are better off by having a Democrat in office and not turning over the White House to Joe Biden. Sorry, to Donald Trump.
One of the things, like you say, the HBCUs, I think it was around 16 billion that over the last 4 years that has been put into HBCUs,
Mm-hmm.
and it's something to say that somebody cared enough about, and that means that the people that was around him, and this is why it's so important to have people at the table at the seat of power in this country, so they can advise him on things that are happening in other communities outside of just the white community. And this is why it was so important to have Joe Biden. Joe Biden have created more jobs in this country than in the last 4 years that has been created in the last 50 years. So that says a lot about what they have been doing for the country and making sure that the country is effectively running properly. But the other guy, he want to destroy everything that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris has brought to fruition in this country. This dude said he gonna change everything on day one, right? And he's. I mean, when you think about the things that he's saying in that Project 2025, it's really crazy. And for somebody to want him as president, a two-time impeached person, a person that has said out of his own mouth that he grabbed women by the private parts, have been convicted and adjudicated as a rapist and assaulter. He pushed insurrection in this country, and people are still going to vote for him. He got 34 felonies and more to come. And then, the judge that he appointed, what's her name? The one here in Florida.
The one that just threw out the documents cases.
Document case, yeah. Ellie, yeah. When you think about that, those are the kinds of people you want on the courts. But everybody else that come through her court, she can convict them and put them away. But this man had documents that should have never been outside of a SCIF. That was top secret, and some of the most top secret documents in the world that anybody could have had gotten their hands on. And he had people from all kinds of countries, just like he had this guy over there the other day from Hungary, at his place over there. So it just show you how inept it really is.
And corrupt.
Yeah, corrupt. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Bill. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying and corrupt. I was just adding that to the ineptness.
So I'm going to share something, but I'm just the messenger. Okay. I'm just the messenger. So I was having a conversation. I have to say that beforehand because I had to call and find out, like, what did you tell me? So I could get the story straight. But I'm just the messenger, but I think we need to talk about it. Derek, don't come through the TV. Um, so I was talking to my daughter and people her age. So imagine 18 to 25. And there is at first right now they're thinking you're in trouble because you just called them, told them they're lacking in intellect. So I think maybe we address it in a different way. That's our 40 plus thought process. Let's try to think like they think and give them truth instead of calling them out as
Well,
not intellectual.
some
Because I'm
tough
just telling you,
love,
Bill, they hear that and they
tough,
don't vote, we lose. So we can't go the way we
tough,
used to go. We can't. We can't afford to
man,
lose a
black
single one
card,
of
you
them.
have got to be kidding me.
Hey, she said it. I'm sharing it so that we know.
There ain't no sweet way to put it that something's going on, man, in their psyche, man.
Well, like Jill say though, Bill, we have to show a different perspective of by what we are doing now, showing the parallels between the two, the binary choice that we have, and how we go. We have to tell the story. Somebody have to tell the story. Hey, this is what this man is doing, and this is what has been done by Joe Biden, but this is what Trump intend to do, and it could put you out of work or your mother or father out of
I
work, or somebody
Vernon has his hand up.
And I know, I know, it's hard, but go ahead, Bert.
I said 18 to 25. It's really 18 to 35, but I was just saying, I'm hoping the 25 to 35-year-olds have a little bit more.
Well,
Hey,
you know, go ahead, Bill.
I've been back and forth with an 18-year-old for 6, 7, 8 months, man. And I know that the narrative is they're leaning toward Trump. And the biggest one was the one that has now been dismissed, is that he was too old. But for them to have a new narrative that he's got his black card because he's been shot.
And
And
this,
yes, spell it. So he's got, I guess, I don't know. My next question was today was, okay, you told me that. What do they feel now that, like you said, the major thing was that he was old, but talking about Biden, that he's old. Do you think that you and your friends will go out? Of course, she's going to vote, but will you think they will go out and vote? And she said, well, some people don't like Kamala. She said, so and of course she's a black woman, so we have to say that as it is. And she said, but what she did say is, who's going to be her vice? So she said that makes a difference. So I don't know what that means, because they think differently than we do, or we're maybe seeing it in a different way than what they see. What will connect to them, I don't know what that is because I'm not them. It might be different than what connects to us. All I know is that what I would say to the Democratic Party is they need to figure it out, and they need to make sure that it is someone who is going to make everybody want to go to the polls. That's critical. They cannot do as some other nominees have done in the past and pick people that we don't know, and that former President Trump he never said a negative word about Hillary's VP. You know why? Because he was not very important in stopping or moving her forward. I'm trying to be nice. So therefore, he who called out everybody, black, white, purple, pink, disabled, everybody. He didn't say a single word about him at all. Because
Sitting here, I got my very first text from not my Williams. I get texts like 20 a day asking for money. But today, while we've been sitting here, I got a text from Madam Vice President with her picture up, and it says, "I am running to be president of the United States. I'm honored to have the president's endorsement, and my intention is to earn and win this nomination. In the coming days, as I hit the campaign trail to meet with Americans and lay out the choice in front of voters in the fall, I cannot imagine two more starkly different visions for where we want our country to go. You can choose the dark path of Project 2025 with less freedom and more division, or we can choose to pull together and do the work for the people. These are not ordinary times, and this will not be an ordinary election, but this is our America. And I need you to fight. I need you with me in this fight. So I have to ask, will you pitch in $20? And usually I delete those texts. I'm like, y'all get too much of my money right now. But I might have to give Ms. Madam Vice President my $20 and go on and let her do the thing. And I would encourage everybody else to do the same.
Yeah, I'm
And the
definitely.
DNC, and can't remember all his titles, but he deals with all the money. He was on the call that Chair Freed had, and he said, do not worry. Any money that you give under Biden will transfer seamlessly. They already have many people already working on it, and it will be a seamless transition. So continue to give and continue to fight. Those were his words to us.
Jill, thank you for sharing that, because that was actually one of my concerns. And so I'm really grateful that you shared that and was on that call. That was honestly one of my concerns, how all of this was going to transfer over.
He spent about 5 or 10 minutes. He said, I'm not going to get into all the financials, but I need you to make sure that you understand. And that call was a complete all call for really delegates. There were some caucus clubs and DC chairs on there, but it was a delegate call. And they were rallying the Florida delegates to hopefully by tomorrow to go ahead and cast their votes. Collectively, they have a petition and everything to say that Florida is now, we love Biden and we are taking his endorsement and moving forward 100% united. So look for that from Florida. Hopefully they will make that happen and other states will do the same.
Well, interesting on that call, I was kind of, I don't know if shocked is the word, but surprised to see the emotion that some people had, like Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz literally broke down into tears. And I was like, wait, I had stepped away. I was trying to clean up in the office and I heard somebody sobbing. I was like, who was crying? And I had to come back to the computer and I was like, wow, to hear them do it. But I'm glad that our wonderful chair, Nikki Freed, has galvanized our delegates to move forward in the correct direction. That was something that, I was hoping. I know when if you were at the barbecue today, you heard me give my charge to all of our CD1 delegates to ensure that they cast their vote for Madam Vice President Kamala Harris, and anything else is unacceptable. So, some agreed, some left.
As long as they fall in line. And then after Florida does it, we're hoping that other states will follow. The other thing I thought that was very interesting was the passion and the commitment. Yeah. Like everybody was passionate. They shared their story, but the end of it was, we're in this together. We need to do this. This is who we're going for. This is what we're going to do. And we have to do it together. That unity call is not something I've seen so quickly. So to Chair Freed, amazing that in just 4 or 5 hours, you were able to pull together that team and all of your delegates to get on here and then share and say, hey, this is where we're going. So I just hope the rest of the states, we can make this easy if we just make it easy, or we can continue. So if we're going to be in the news, at least we could be in the news in unity. Like they automatically like, okay, Biden did this and we love him. And yes, he's our president and we're 110% behind him being our president, as we are 110% behind Vice President Kamala Harris being the presidential nominee.
Well, it appears that it was 5 hours, but like Jerry said, it was something close to the hip. But I think a lot of insiders knew and were making the concessions. But we have an active Facebook stream. Anthony Bryce reiterate what Derek has already alluded to. Time for unity, he says. But Calvin Brothers, out of our Jacksonville, city of Jacksonville, right here in Florida, said, it's sad to say this, but it must be mentioned. Donald J. is so divisive. I think for his political base, he wants to run against Vice President Harris because it really brings race and sexism to the forefront. I'm not saying all Republicans, but under Trump, with the Proud Boys and him saying that there's some really good white supremacists, Trump running against Vice President Harris is going to be he's going to push that narrative. Brother Calvin Brothers, he said, we cannot allow Donald J. to be president. And Alan Young, our faithful brother right here in Pensacola, says the women will right back. I'm not quite sure. I think there's some, but the women will right back. I'm not sure what he was saying on that.
The good part about it, you know, Derek mentioned the pandemic. Under Trump, over 1 million people died during the pandemic. Joe Biden came in, made sure people got shots in the arm, mask, you know,
Yes.
the insulin that they needed for you know, to survive. Over 100,000 people a month was dying from COVID, and he made sure that those shots got out there into people's arms, and millions of people's lives were saved. You remember they were putting people in trucks and all of that in New York. They were doing mass graves and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
We don't forget about all of that. All of
Yes.
that happened because he disbanded the rapid response program that President Obama and Bush put into place for infectious diseases around the world. And I know y'all remember the Ebola virus.
Yes.
President Obama sent the people there so the Ebola wouldn't cross the ocean and come here. He sent the people there, and they was working with Doctors Without Borders and all kinds of scientists around the world to stop Ebola. I think one person in America died from Ebola, and it might have been the person, one of the doctors or something of that nature. I'm not totally sure now, but I remember one person. But it was people dying overseas in mounting numbers, and they sent people and vaccines and everything else to shut down that Ebola. And when you go back to when Bush looked at the possibility of diseases that was coming in that might affect us, he put this in place immediately. And also he gave like $14 billion to the people in Africa for the AIDS virus. So, you know, there were people doing some great things, but when he came into office, he disbanded all of those rapid response programs that they had for infectious diseases, and then discredit the people that were fighting, like Dr. Fauci and even the CDC and the Food and Drug Administration. He was demonizing them because they were, you know, and made it almost impossible for them to do their job properly in this country. And that was unfortunate that so many, it should have never been that many people died on his watch because he was so
incompetent.
Yeah. Go ahead, Burr.
Hey,
I thought you were getting ready to curse him for a minute.
When we think of all of the accomplishments that Derek and Jill read of this guy, let's make sure that we remember that he accomplished all those things in this short 3.5 years, and 1.5 years of that was taking care of the American people with that doggone COVID thing. That's awful impressive, guys.
And
I just
go ahead, Christine.
I just want to point out, Bill, what you just said about, you know, Trump really trying to turn out white supremacists and what that's going to look like going up against Kamala Harris. She has always stated there is more that unites us than divides us. You know, she has been a leader in criminal justice reform. As a prosecutor, later senator, she was a vocal advocate for criminal justice reform, particularly addressing issues that disproportionately affected Black communities. She supported efforts to end mass incarceration, eliminate mandatory minimum sentencing, and promotes alternatives to incarceration. Her support for HBCUs, also having been to an HBCU, she consistently showed support for HBCUs, co-sponsored legislation to provide federal funding to support infrastructure improvement at HBCUs, and has championed increased funding for institutions. Voting rights, she's been a strong advocate for protecting and expanding voting rights, recognizing the historical disenfranchisement of Black voters. She supported legislation to restore the Voting Rights Act, fought against voter suppression efforts, worked to ensure fair and accessible elections. And economic empowerment. She has worked to address economic disparities faced by, particularly in the Black community. She supported policies to increase access to capital funding for minority-owned business, advocate for affordable housing initiatives, and championed efforts to close the racial wealth gap. For maternal health, I don't know anybody who has been more out there and out front leading the way for that. She's been a leading voice in addressing racial disparities in maternal health outcomes. She's co-sponsored legislation to address the high rates of maternity mortality among Black women and worked to improve access to support, prenatal care and support services. When we look at her for education, closing the educational opportunity gap, expanding access to early childhood education, promoting STEM education, and even here in our area, all she did in the Biden-Harris administration, and along rural areas to make sure everybody has adequate internet. And what a stumbling block that was, and did so very, very quickly because COVID showed folks. Jill.
You didn't have to stop. What I was going to say is I think that's what Bill was saying. All that stuff you just read is why it is just prove his point. That is why, because she stands for all of that. It's such a one side and other side. There really is an absolute line drawn, and Christina just made it very clear. That's exactly what Bill was saying. Because Kamala Harris has that proven record of all that, Trump is coming for it, and she's coming back for it.
Calvin Brothers out of Jacksonville actually said it, but he's so right. This is red meat to a lion. He cannot help himself simply because of skin pigmentation. It's who he is. He will make this about race for sure. Yeah, with all of those wonderful accomplishments, might I add. I mean, she's no doubt qualified. She's articulate, very intelligent. And that would be the debate right there, because she's going to call him on it. Joe's a little slow on calling him on it because he wasn't feeling well, but she will call him on it, I promise you. That would be the debate.
And his followers will ignite in that. That's all he's going to do. Remember that the reason, I can't even explain why he is the way he is, but what I can say is he knows his lies so well, they are his truth. They're lies, but they're his truth. So you can't get him wrapped up in it. Even as she's coming at him, he will be like, yeah, and then because he believes it. She's just going to be able to show it. What I believe will happen is she'll be able to show people just how deep he is in it. Like,
I don't think he'll debate her.
I don't either.
I don't think he'll debate her.
I think he will use his ear as an excuse now.
His people are smart enough to not let him debate her.
So all I want to say is,
Go ahead, Kristen.
all I want to say is, Kamala Harris has prosecuted pedophiles. Kamala Harris has prosecuted rapists.
Christina, he's been prosecuted.
I'm just saying.
She gonna prosecute him
I'm saying, she can lead this charge, and I am, if he does debate her, please, everybody is invited, because I want to see that. That's what I want to see.
And then he won't. I don't think he will.
The thing about it, but Christina is right. She can prosecute the case before the world and before the American people.
Absolutely.
Even though he'd been convicted, they played it off as if, it was no big deal. But now you got to get on the stage where somebody like Kamala Harris, who is a woman, who can talk about rape, who can talk about, assaulting women, who can talk about abortion, we can talk about all of the things that affect women, but also all the other policies that need to be addressed. So some of those things, gonna affect even Republican women when she get out and begin to prosecute the case. Jill saying no, but I think it will. I do. I really do. And
I think it will for those that are on the fence. I think you're absolutely right. And I'm not taking anything away from Kamala Harris because she's amazing. However, I think that if we're thinking that because Kamala Harris is the fabulous person that she is, that people that are going for Trump, that you don't need to have somebody tell you what rape is. You know what rape is. So if you are behind him and you know that he raped somebody, you know that he has all these felonies, they're not going to disappear because she makes it clear that rape is freaking rape. Rape is rape. You can't make it clear. He's already prosecuted. So those people are not, I don't think they're budging. I think that they're going to dig in. His followers dig in. They don't do what we do. We're thinking like Democrats, where we actually are trying to contemplate, should we keep Biden? Should we not? Should we go for Kamala? Should we not? Should we do this? Should we not? Should we vote? Should we not? They don't do that. I want you guys to remember that we just had the RNC and they voted him in. There was no conversation. They didn't say, oh, but should we? No, they said, he's our nominee next.
So I will totally 110% agree with you. 100% agree with you. But I still believe there is still a gray area where we can make inroads. We can make inroads with folks who supported Nikki Haley, who don't want to support Trump. We can make inroads with young people who are truly, truly just undecided. We can make a lot of inroads. And that gray area is going to be really, really important. And where folks didn't see it before, even though it was plain and clear by policy, because so much is, snapshots of this and snapshots of that and little tidbits, we're going to be able, I believe, to really, really bring that case forward, to really be able to show that, to fact check him in real life, fact check him in real time. I think she's going to be able to do that. So, but I've been wrong. I was wrong about the VP pick. I didn't see this coming. I've been wrong. So
the VP pick. What VP pick?
The VP.
Whatever.
Vance.
Oh, okay. I was like, wait, what?
I don't see where fact checking is going to make the world of difference. This guy's going to lie. He doesn't care about being a lie. He knows it's a lie. Everybody watching knows it's a lie.
They don't care nothing about facts. And I'm still trying to figure out how you put your two lists together to say that those people who supported Nikki Haley might support Kamala Harris. In what world is that going to happen? Nikki Haley cosplayed as a white woman. And Kamala Harris is visibly black, So them folks who made a concession in the Republican Party that, okay, we're going to support Nikki Haley because, A, she's still a Republican and she's trying to cosplay as a white woman. They're going to be like, well, hold on. A black woman is a bridge too far. You're trying, you're leaping. So I'm trying to figure out how you're gonna make assess that leap from that standpoint.
And before you answer, what I was thinking was, didn't she stand up on the RNC floor and say, "I'm for Trump, let's go"? And all of my followers vote for Trump.
All of them folks are crazy over on that side, man.
Phenomenal to us Democrats. You think that a Republican who has said, yes, I'm Nikki Haley. I mean, think about us. And so sometimes I think that we want so much. Now, Christina, don't get me wrong. There are people that are in the gray. The gray is not what we're talking about. You said Nikki Haley's people who are all the way for Nikki Haley, who is now all the way for Trump, that we could somehow get them to what? Turn the channel? Yes. Because remember, the bell has been rung. The bell has been rung. They are not flipping. They know now, probably more so than if Biden was running, that they got to do everything possible Because there is no way in the world they're going to let a black, not that we can't counteract that, not that we can't make it happen, but in their minds, this is, if we don't stop this now, a black woman Democrat is going to run this country. That's what they're thinking right now. They were, let Biden stay in. I mean, the one guy, I mean, they had a couple of congressmen that were like, oh, they can't do that. It'll be terrible for them because they didn't want Kamala. You're right. They don't want her, but that's not making their people turn. Their people aren't like some other people who still have to decide who should be the nominee. They didn't have to decide who should be the nominee. Like, we're literally talking about this. We're asking, begging people to put their delegates behind Kamala Harris, and they have a felon, rapist, whatever, and they all threw their delegates behind them without a question. You're dealing with a different kind of people, and that's why, unfortunately, we have to work so very hard in listening and then sharing truth. But I don't want people to think that short of God, that Kamala Harris is going to, short of God, because God is and can do all things, but short of God, the one and only God, already having it written, the Trump people are going to be Trump people.
There you go.
I don't know what else he could do. I mean, he likened that
So
he could walk down the street and shoot somebody, but and especially now that he got shot at, it's just, they really, I read something, and I'm gonna let you talk, Christine. I read something, there was some, and you might remember the person's name, but it shocked me, and I was like, but I'm not really shocked, but I'm shocked because I just said God. That one of and I think he was a congressman, was told, like on the line, like, I don't know if I want Trump. I just really don't think I'm gonna write somebody in. That was his final. He was just interviewed. Trump
to steer her as a black woman, it's hard. Like, I look at I was at the library, and someone said they know that we're Democrats because we have our Democratic meeting. All of our Democratic groups meet at the library, and the individual said to me, "So, don't you think that Biden's going to drop out?" I'm absolutely for pick as long as it's not Kamala. That was what the individual said. And that was someone that was a non-person of color. I said, well, why not Kamala? And they were like, she's just not it. Why is she not it? And when I walked through her accomplishments, they were like, she's just not it. And so I said, is it because she's Black? And so they were like, no. I was like, so what is it? They weren't able to articulate what it is, right? And I'm like, so you just don't want to tell me it's because she's Black, and that's fine. Like, don't please, Bill, don't tell me. You don't have to tell me, but you're saying the quiet part out loud because you aren't able to articulate what it is that you have a problem with the current vice president. And this was, and I say this to say this was someone who I know falls into your category, who was a Republican, does not want to vote for Trump, was looking to vote for give me anybody else. And that's what I hate. There's always a parameter. Give me anybody else but Biden. Okay, now you got Biden. Well, give me anybody else but Kamala. Okay, it's Kamala. Now it's anybody else but Kamala. Like, the goalpost continues to move, and I'm wondering, how do we message to those people to understand, like, can I, quite frankly, put your racism to the side and just vote because your life is dependent upon it? I just think that there are going to be people who are, I'd rather go to Trump than to vote for a Black woman. I quite frankly think that's how it's going to turn out.
And in Florida, that was proven with Nelson and Andrew.
Yeah.
We know where we live. We can't talk about the rest of the United States, but 10,000 people didn't vote for Nelson. He lost by 10,000. Andrew Gillum lost by 30,000. That's 20,000. Some Democrats, Republicans, MPAs that said, I can vote for Nelson, happened to be a Caucasian man, but I cannot check the box for Andrew Gillum, a Black man.
Yeah.
I think part of the answer is going to be her VP pick. It's critical. It needs to, I don't know the answer, but I think that's going to be what's going to, because you can't erase who she is and what she is. So you got to have a strong VP.
Right.
So this is my question. My question to y'all, because I don't have the right answer. My dream ticket would look something like, Kamala Harris and Cory Booker, or Kamala Harris and so I hear what you're saying. Just let me this is my dream, and not the reality.
Is that going to be in that place that you said you're moving to? It must.
Hear me out. So, like, I would love to see a Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, take Kamala Harris, Winnebago ticket. That's not going to happen. So the top four that are being floated, and this is just like through news and media and outlets, but the top four that are being floated are Governors Roy Cooper out of North Carolina, Josh Shapiro out of Pennsylvania, Andy Beshear of what is now Senator usually from the South. If this is about stirring excitement, do we really, do we really want to do what you were just saying? And then who would that person be in your eyes?
Wait a minute.
Which is what?
Do we really want to
What-
do what? Do we
what?
really
Yeah,
want to
what-
pick
Like,
somebody
like
that's
you were
gonna?
saying, so like you were saying, you know, the VP pick is gonna be a lot. And so what I'm understanding is the VP pick is gonna have to be white, male, and so what I'm saying is from that, okay, who do you see as a VP pick that's gonna make, you know, young people energized and excited? Who do you guys see? I mean, I said who I see it, and it's not any of the folks you said.
Okay, so I'll
and the
start
top
and
four
Derek
that
can
being
finish.
floated around. So what do you see? I mean, that's the
Okay.
conversation, I guess.
Yeah, so I think the first thing is, I'm not sure it's about who we see because that's not our job. Our job is, I don't know as much as they do. What I would see in what you said is that you picked Kamala Harris, who's black, Cory Booker, who's black. You know good and well that's not gonna work. Kamala Harris, who's black, and
Agreed.
Pete, who's
Agreed.
fabulous, and I love him, but he's LGBTQ, and to them, that's all in that same boat. Black, brown, LGBTQ. We all love each other. We're able, you know, it is what it is. So I'm just saying, you're thinking that a ticket that's going to be an automatic no, we can't give them that. So we have to. I'm not telling you that the person's going to galvanize young people, but they have to strategically look at this. They have
Yep.
to. There's no other answer to it because
So how do you do that and not
wait a
get a
minute,
Tim Kaine?
Hillary Clinton
I guess
lost
that's where I'm like,
because she picked the
Tim
wrong
Kaine.
VP. That's how critical it is. We've already had the example. Can I tell you who it is? No, I'm not politically astute enough because if I knew trust that I would have already picked up the phone and called Biden and Kamala and anybody who'd listen. However, when I do have good thoughts, I still can't pick up the phone and call Kamala and Biden. So Christina, that's you. However, in this case, all I'm saying is that it is absolutely critical that they get her nominated, and then they literally look through it. I mean, you loved Kamala, but when Biden was choosing his vice, he had a lot of great people. He really did. And that's what they need to have is a lot of great people. And then they need to say, okay, Trump has Trump and he has his entourage, his soon to be takeover, make sure that MAGA lives on forever. That's him in Ohio, Florida, Ohio. That's what they have. So what counteracts that? You've got Kamala, which is going to pull a lot of people, but what counteracts that? That to me is a strategic something that I am not qualified to share the answer to. But maybe my good friend Derek will be able to do that. But I know I can't, but I know it's critical enough because I remember even in my
she said, worked hard to get where we are. We as the Black people, I said, I couldn't agree with you more. However, it's not about where we are, it's about what people are going to vote for. You don't want to set yourself up just to make a statement, you know, like I want to use an example that just happened recently where Black people gave folks some false hope, but I'm not. The person, I don't know that man from a can of paint. All I know is he beat that man in Kentucky when he the attorney general guy. That's the only thing I know about him. So I can't tell you if he's great or good. Um, you know, I put myself in the thing of an average voter, and I don't know that I care that somebody was an astronaut or not. You know, like maybe that's a great thing in some spaces. I don't know, if I was a physicist, I might think that was a great thing, but I don't know
Kamala. So
They did. So I guess, you know, like my dream ticket, my dream scenario would never, ever happen, ever, under any circumstance. So what is a dream ticket you guys think that would actually be a great ticket and still move young people off the couch?
Jesus coming back tomorrow. I want to go to heaven. That's where I want to go. That's my answer.
Well, my dream ticket would be Westmore and Kamala Harris. Westmore out of Maryland, who is the governor. But that would be my dream ticket. But we know that, you know, two Black people on a ticket together is, you know, and the other person would be, the other person would be the governor of Michigan.
the woman,
Yeah,
Griffin Whitmer.
Gretchen Whitman. Yeah.
So
I think
we got to get out of this utopic
No,
what is
that's
wonderful to have,
I think we need to
and talk about what is electable.
Yes. Let's clarify what dream ticket is. Dream ticket is not in our own spaces. Like
Right.
I just
No, I was just saying that would be my dream ticket.
Happens. If your dream ticket comes, we're gonna lose. So I need your dreams not to come true right now. Just right this moment. Not ever, but just right now. Because we would lose. There's no way that they're going to elect not one, but two Black people. Come on, y'all.
Two Black people, or it's already, you got a Black woman, then you add a woman as a VP. That's all. And I love women. I'm not saying that is not an ideal ticket. What I am saying is that the rest of America fighting chance to Vice President Kamala Harris, it was going to be an uphill battle. I think we all know that, and we now have to move very strategically, very carefully, and very thoughtfully. You know, I don't know. I don't know the pool of eligible white men. I don't know what they are because, you know, so if the vice president has to be a white man, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like, I know we would like to see all these, oh, it would be great to have, it would be great. It's be a white man. Like, I'm just, you know, that's not, for those who might be watching, that's not internalized racism. I'm not self-hating. I am just trying to get us to a point of electability for the rest of the demographic. And the American demographic connotes to be a white man. Now that we have Madam Vice President.
Yeah, unless Bill has, because you know he has that inside scoop. So unless Bill has the answer, what I'm going to say on behalf of Jill is that I hope that our future president, Kamala Harris, is not waiting for at least Jill. I hope to God she knows more and has a better strategic plan than what the knowledge for. But Bill, go ahead.
I sure wish I had an inside idea on this one, but I don't. But I will say this. Whoever the VP pick is, it needs to come from a swing state. Rose Shelby Williams on our live Facebook stream says Obama is calling for an open convention. Also has been rumored that Joe Manchin is putting this product to get changed back to a Democrat and put his hat back in the ring. I'm not in favor of an open convention, but these are some of the rumors that pundits are talking about. Rose Shelby Williams from my
The person who finds the facts, Christina.
Yeah, wherever he's in, what is their rule?
Yeah, can they do that? Can you be a Democrat 2 days before a race?
Let me look it up and check for that state. Each state
West
constitution
Virginia.
is different.
West Virginia, yeah.
Yeah, he's a Democrat, right?
No,
he went independent, I thought.
He went independent, yeah.
Oh, he went independent? Oh, okay. But that would not nullify him from being a vice presidential candidate, though, would it?
Well, that's what we're trying to see. So if he switched back to, you have to switch back to being a Democrat, and then, but I don't know what the rules are in West Virginia, how that works. So in Florida, you have to be a Democrat a year, or you have to be in your party a year prior to your race. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, what you know, I don't know who would be, you know, outside of the people that I thought should be there. And Jill said it's a lose-lose situation. So, but I don't know who else, unless they get somebody out of Congress or the Senate. You know, even them, I don't know who would be in the Senate. Who, Chris Coon or somebody like that.
Who?
Chris Coon.
That's actually not a bad idea. He's out of Delaware, but normally you'd want to go to like a more purple area or an area where you're looking at bringing in, you know, a senator that maybe has a really close race. You want to bring somebody from that state, or where you have a be.
Yeah,
I thought Vern, I was gonna ask Vern, but he. No. Okay, I just really wanted to know what your thoughts were, and then you didn't get to share with us in the beginning because you were doing technical difficulties. You said to say.
we can.
Well, who are our Democratic members of Congress? So I've been going state by state looking at who it is, who's on the list, right? And I want to put somebody up. Now hear me out. He's new, but he be on fire. Asking.
So they'd have
Yes.
to like take him away and take her away and just say,
Amy Raskin would be a good pick.
And I actually don't disagree with your first pick. Reason being because Florida is in play and has been in play.
Wait,
And so,
we were on a call and the DNC person said that Florida is not, didn't he
not
not?
in play.
Derek, he very clearly said Florida is not in
Florida
play, but
is
he
not
called
in
us
play.
something else. We're like a transition state. He said Florida's not in play, but this will make us high up on the transit, whatever his word is he used. So I just want everybody to know we're in I might put into certain
They
races,
do,
which is what
absolutely. So
I think they
that's
said
why the
on that
majority
call
of the
with
money is
Derek.
gonna go towards purple areas. But what I'm saying is what Derek just said, it's not a bad move. It's not
Oh,
a
I'm
bad
not
move
disagreeing that it's
at all. And it moves us more, it moves that needle more. And so we get more of a spotlight. We actually get, we need as Democrats in this area. I know this is not a political but we actually get more help and more funding that we need. And as Democrats, when we have somebody elevated to that level.
So Derek, let me ask you a question, because I'm not disagreeing. I'm disagreeing with Florida, but that's just my own personal thing. But question. Does he rally the troops across the United States?
So
Because
what
that's
will
what we
say,
have to do. I don't know
what
that
I will say is that Jared Moskowitz has a lot of viral moments that resonate with young voters, right?
Okay.
So if they don't, I think young people will see him as familiar because he's on a lot of like social media blurbs, like when they, whenever like, name, what's that fool from Georgia? Marjorie Taylor Greene, whenever she has something to say, he always annihilates her in the most articulable and professional way that makes her. And again, we talk about, the field of government, but has to be somebody that somebody knows. Just can't be
Well,
like random John Jones.
and
So
so
you don't
maybe
think
we don't say, maybe we right now try to figure out who, but we try to make sure that our compel or our cry to everybody is vote, register, share, and anybody that has delegate, what is the word I want to say? That if you're a delegate, we'll just go that way, that you're hearing from the Florida constituents that we want come. Because right now we're sitting here trying to pick her vice, and she's not the nominee yet. So we need to maybe structure more on that, and then everybody go and research. And next week, if we want to have this conversation, we can do better than. Although your people are great, Derek, because I told you if they're waiting for me to say, I choose Jesus always. So.
The people of Escambia County, this whole week has been filled with people calling my phone starting at 6 o'clock in the morning. Random people. I'm like, okay. And don't get me wrong, viewing audience. I love hearing from you. Don't mistake that. I absolutely love hearing. But yeah, if we can call it 7 o'clock, that might be a little better. But that has been the number one question. Like, I had people telling me Biden absolutely has to step down. I had people telling me, no, keep Biden. And I love that you all think that I have the ability to reach out to President Joe Biden and tell him what I think. I absolutely love that. But it's been interesting. We'll wait to see how it goes. But to Jill's point, the only thing that we can do is register, vote, and again, as we talk about this, we're paying attention to but there are down ballot candidates that need just the top, and they are going to be counting on you to engage and get out and make sure you support.
Yeah, I was going to say, go ahead, Christine.
I just real quick to answer your question about Manchin, everything I looked up says that if he switches back, he could be chosen as the vice president. However, that's me doing 5 minutes of research and not digging deep. The other thing I want to say is to anybody that is a Florida delegate, please, we need to be united.
I know Jill
And
was
that's
saying
what Vice President Harris.
Jill, you were saying that who is the person that is saying that Florida is not in play? Who is saying that?
So, and I don't, yeah. So here's the thing. So you have to look at what in play means. And so I don't want anybody that's watching, listening, thinking that Florida is not important. Every single state is important. Every single state. And in Florida, they know that we are up against a lot. And so anything we can do to make sure that Florida turns purple, it stays blue, or depending on what county. If you're in a red county, that's what needs to happen. We would like to think, I mean, Jerry, we're just being honest, we'd like to think Florida's in play, but really look at what's in Florida. You've got Trump from Florida. You've got DeSantis from Florida. You've got Rick Scott. You've got states, and there's a whole bunch more. To be in play, we be overly registering voters. To be in play, we don't need to be we need to be on one accord and accept everybody, even in our red counties. So know that what goes on in our counties, that Florida chair knows, and because some of you went to the DNC, they know. And so we might not be in play because of some of the tactics of others and some of the racism. Derek, so what are you talking about?
Who are you talking about? I said, who are you talking about?
Just to be honest, I mean, we live in 4 counties where racism lives quite within our own party. And it is unfortunate that you cannot I'm gonna say a
We have
statement that was
1
made.
minute.
You got 1 minute? Okay, then we'll say it
Yeah.
next week. Next week, be
Okay.
ready.
No, say it now. Go say it now.
He said he's got 1 minute. It's his
Oh,
show.
sorry. Go ahead.
I'm gonna share one book. Allow me to report a black guy's guide to the Constitution, Ellie Style. So I'm gonna just do one book tonight because it's 8:59. I'm daring gonna put it back in your hand.
Well, again, I will say we are happy that we were able to join you this week. I think we had a break because we had quite a lot going on last week, but we're happy to be with you at such a pivotal time, time, whatever the word is. Sorry, but we thank you so very much for joining us tonight. Please make sure you join us next week. We will get back to having some of our local candidates and talking more about this, along with Project 2025, and hearing from our candidates. We thank you for joining us this evening. Have a great night, and we will see you same time next week. Take care,
Good night,
everybody.
everybody.
Nice.
We might still